I don't think I've made a single payment on those student loans since I've had them.
Great. You don't feel responsible to pay back money you borrow?
It's not that, I guess.
Well, yes. Go on.
I don't have the degree for it.
Yeah, but you borrowed it. I don't have the degree. I'm paying on mine.
I know I borrowed it, but it's not that I don't plan on paying it back.
It's been over a decade.
I know.
$20,576.
Again, like I said, I've been focused on just maintaining my day-to-day. So there's things.
But you're not.
That's why I'm been focused on it and not doing anything else really.
But you're not maintaining your day-to-day. You're moving your car payments to the end of your car payment. You're allowing that 20% interest to accrue. Mind you, again, when I talked about accruing money in your retirement, the best is a 10% average. You're losing more than double that with your car loan.
You want to know what's so funny? I posted a video the other day talking about the fact that I'm 26 years old and I'm in $95,487.73 worth of debt, majority of that being student loans. And the response from people is just absolutely wild. And I'm sitting here responding to comments of people shaming me, and they're trying to wonder how it even got to this point. They're trying to put me down, saying I'm never going to pay it off. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I went to school, did what I had to do to become a nurse to help people. And people were shaming me for doing that. I went to school to get a career where I can better people's lives, save lives, and I'm being shamed for the way that I had to do it. I put myself in a financial burden to go get a degree, to help people, to save lives, to better people's lives, and I'm being shamed for the way that I had to do it because I didn't have mommy and daddy paying for my college. I had to take out student loans. You don't even realize how bad student loans can get, because in the moment when tuition is due, all you're thinking about is making that tuition date and paying the tuition. So you just sign. That's how it gets to where it is. You just sign because you have to do what you have to do in that moment in order to accomplish your goals. And that's what I did. And I'm being shamed for that. Y'all are shaming a nurse, okay, for doing what she had to do in order to help people. That's crazy.
Start with, I have currently about $430,000 in student loans.
Good Lord.
Yes, I was in medical school. I had failed 2 sets of boards after 3 years, and then was recently dismissed. And so about 80 of that, 80,000 is from undergrad, and then other courses later on to get into medical school, and the remainder is from medical school. Right now I have the debt, but no degree that I was planning to use to actually be able to pay that back. So at this point, I don't really know what my options are to try to dig out of this.
You're right. That's a mess. I'm so sorry. That's scary.
It is.
Yeah. How did you get that far into it and then not be able to pass the boards?
I actually did fairly well during the first 2 years, but it was just, I think, being able to, I guess it was one thing to take an exam every few weeks or every month, but being able to retain that and then to recall it to the level of detail that I needed for the exams, I just couldn't put it all together at the end.
Is there any way you can re-engage and still have a shot at finishing?
Not without having to reapply and then go through the process all over again. And also have to take out more loans.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. What are your when did you flunk the last one?
That was this past spring, and so I was let go this summer.
Okay. So what since then? What has been your plan?
Well, I've basically just been getting by. I was able to find a job, first of all, as a substitute teacher, and I was hired as a high school biology teacher. But my loans are on deferment right now, and I have some forbearance to go. But at this point, I'm not sure any of the other career options. I've thought about, physician assistant, other programs like that, but it requires going into more debt. Because I'm not in a position where I could work and then pay as I go. Plus pay off the current, the loans I've got now too.
Yeah. So what would it take to be a PA from where you are?
I would have to take about another year of classes. I would have to take some other entrance classes, and then 2.5 years for the program itself.
Wow.
And then and that's probably at least another $60 to $70,000 in tuition and living expenses.
What about nursing?
It's my undergraduate degree was in biology, and then I did pre-med.
And so none of the med school work you've done applies to anything else.
No, none of it. I have the debt, but none of the courses, none of it actually I can transfer to anything.
Wow. Well, I mean, the only thing I know to tell you is to try to assess some kind of a career, and that's what I'm poking at here. I don't know enough about that world to try to help you, but we obviously need to get to the point that we're making some good money to begin to pay this through, right? And so I want to lead you towards something that's 6 figures to try to plow through this with, and or get on maybe with some kind of a hospital type of a company that would do some student loan pay for you as part of your signing bonus, that kind of a thing. Obviously, you're not going to be doing that as an MD, but the PA idea is a good idea, something around the biology or medical field, but I want to move you well beyond high school biology teacher to pay off $430,000 in debt, right?
Exactly. And the other issue, I mean, right now, I'm 34 years old, and so I have all this debt and I have an emergency fund, but no retirement savings, nothing at all. So I don't know.
Well, I'm not worried about that until we address your income. Okay. We got to address your career track, which gets you to your income, which solves the debt problem and then solves the retirement problem. Well, I'm not in a panic about that today. I mean, if you were 66, I might be, but you're not. You got time to work through that.
A payment in the amount of $2,910.91 is due on. How can I help today?
I called back on April 4th and then April 18th. What's going on is...
I'm gonna need to get you transferred, okay?
Okay. The consolidation went through about 3 months later, but the IDR plan was still processing. To this day, it's still processing. It hasn't gone through.
I'm gonna brief 1 to 2 minute hold. Let me look into this further.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. I'm gonna get you transferred to a supervisor.
I'm still not seeing any account updates for the administrative forbearance. I never even got an email confirming like it was put in place or anything.
However, I would have to have the borrower on the line for that.
Okay.
That's the only thing. I'm not able to submit that with you on the phone.
Which is so frustrating. No, you've been really helpful. I appreciate it. 3 hours later. Oh my God.
If you have student loans, you're needed in the front office. I repeat, if you have student loans, you're needed in the front office. Come on in, take a seat. Baby, even if it's on the floor, get on in here because I got something to tell you. So I'm a little late, but as of last month, the U.S. Department of Education came out and said that the Office of Federal Student Aid, which is the FSA, is resuming collection activity on defaulted federal student loans. And this collection effort and activity was starting May 5th of 2025. So yesterday it all started. So before I tell you how this affects you, I want to give you the rundown on how we got here. So the Department of Education has not received any payment on defaulted loans since March of 2020 during COVID, if we remember. So the theme of this message is essentially frustrating. And I'm going to quote the Secretary of Education, which is Linda McMahon. So she basically says, American taxpayers will no longer be forced to serve as collateral for irresponsible student loan policies. Okay, so let's go back to October of 2023. So Congress mandated that student and parent borrowers need to begin the repayment of their loans. And so the Biden administration was like, nah, like we need to kind of increase the momentum of the support for our administration. So let's start telling the people that, you know, we can come out with student loan forgiveness. So it really y'all remember how it was? Like we were super excited about the student loan forgiveness possibility because like student loans can be forgiven. That's absolutely amazing. Also, around that time, they were not properly processing the paperwork or the applications associated with income-driven repayment plans. So if you are the person that's watching this and you try to get on an income-driven repayment plan and like nothing kind of came from that, or you were still kind of in limbo, it was because they were not really handling the processing of these applications appropriately. So Congress is now saying that, the Biden administration trying to push that was an illegal loan forgiveness scheme to try to point, or push the vote for that administration. And it really just kind of masked the risking delinquency and defaulted rates. So again, Congress is really just like, nah. Like, the taxpayer is not going to foot this bill. The people who signed up for these student loans, y'all are the one who need to foot this bill, because y'all are the ones who signed up for, understanding. Y'all signed this paperwork saying you understand that you need to pay this loan back. You signed this paperwork breaking down how it works. Like, y'all know y'all need to handle y'all's bills, because y'all handling y'all's bills will benefit the economy. So let's just get into the numbers a bit, okay? So as of like April 2025, 42.7 million borrowers owe more than $1.6 trillion in debt, and more than 5 million borrowers have not made a monthly payment in over 360 days. And so those borrowers are sitting in default. Okay, so some have been in delinquency or have not made a payment in more than 7 years. And so 4 million are in the late stage of delinquency, which is 91 to 180 days. And so as a result of this, almost 10 million borrowers could be in default in the next few months. So all in all, they're just like, listen, the taxpayer they're not responsible. They should not be held responsible. It should be the people who took out these loans. You guys should be held responsible, okay? So that is what they're saying. So with that, they're saying because y'all need to be held responsible and it's been so long, we have to take aggressive efforts to get this money to help balance out the economy. So the aggressive efforts that they're taking is from the TOP program, which is the Treasury Offset Program, which is administered by the Department of the Treasury. And because of that, they can start taking y'all's tax refunds, okay? So they can get their money out y'all tax refunds. Another way they can do this is start garnishing the wages from, your employers. And so if you guys don't want to experience these things, there are a few things that you guys can do. So thing number one is contacting the default resolution group to arrange payment plans. The next thing you guys can do is get on loan rehabilitation programs. And I really like these things because they require you to make 9 consecutive payments, and then they can essentially like forgive the derogatory or the delinquent payment. So for example, and how this affects you on your credit report is you can have 21 missed payments, right? And y'all know a late payment can drop your score anywhere between 50 and over 100 points. So when you get on this payment plan and you do these 9 consecutive payments, they can forgive all of the late payments. So on their end and on your credit report, and in turn, your credit score is going to jump up over 100 points. So that's going to really, really, really impact you in a major way in terms of your credit score. So getting on that is really, really good. Another thing is loan consolidation. So essentially, if you have one account, that was a student loan account, or even 27 student loan accounts, they can purchase all of that debt and then put it into one loan. So it's kind of similar to like refinancing a loan, closing these out, purchasing the debt, and like I said, just generating a whole new loan that you're making new payments for and new terms for. So this can help you as well. They do have income-driven repayment plans that there are available, and with these new income-driven repayment plans, they are only allowing you guys one time or requiring you guys one time to submit your financial information, because they looked at things in the past and they were like, well, the fact that we have to check their income every single year could be a reason that they're constantly defaulting, because, new terms and things like that based on your income. So now it's whatever you started with that's what, the rate that we're going to continue out for this plan, because they're really just trying to keep payments on record so that it can just kind of help bring down the amount of debt. And like I said, ultimately take it off of the taxpayers' back. And they're saying this as well, that, the student loan debt is not going to go away. And this is facts, because if you've ever tried to get a bankruptcy or know anything about bankruptcy, one thing about it, bankruptcy can wipe away a lot of debt for good. You understand? Like medical debt, credit card debt, a lot of debt. You don't, depending on the type of bankruptcy that you apply for, you might not even be required to set up payments. Like, you just are moving forward, but it does not help with student loan debt. You understand? So they're really trying to emphasize and make it plain that, hey, it's not going to go anywhere. Even if you removed it off your credit, it's still not going to go anywhere, because if you try to apply for a mortgage, that mortgage lender is still going to have to check another outside system to look and see if you have any derogatory student loan debt, whether it's on your credit or not, and that could still get in the way. So take care of this student loan debt, guys. I don't want this to be y'all. It sounds aggressive. They have to take aggressive measures. That is definitely subjective, but they are taking aggressive measures, and to avoid, the garnishing of your wages. Like, this is just one of a few of those things that you can do to get in front of that. And also, make sure that it's not too much of like money that's coming out of your check. Like, you can get in front of it. They have so many different programs. They're hiring so many new people to support you. If you go on the website, which is studentaid.gov/in default, you can learn more about, everything that they have to offer to help. You can even contact them. They are hiring more staff, so that if you want to talk to an actual person to get more answers, you can do that. They're really trying to make it accessible, understandable, digestible, so that you guys can get in front of these payments to kind of help stabilize the economy. If this has been helpful, my name is Maggie. Save this video, share with someone who needs it, and give me a follow. You can also ask me any questions about this, and I will try my very best to answer as much as I can. Thanks for watching.
I'm a third-year medical student with 1 whole year of med school left, and this is my current student loan debt. Let's talk about it and talk about some of the factors that go into making this number so high. One thing is, I do not have any debt for my undergrad education. I went in-state, I had scholarship, I worked as an RA, I worked my ass off to make sure I had no debt before starting medical school. Now, this is purely from medical school, but I will say I am an osteopathic medical student and I go to a private institution. Those two things right there make my school more expensive than some others. One thing I think people need to keep in mind when they see numbers this high is that the average med school debt is around $227,000 when people graduate, but I know a lot of people in school who are not taking out any loans or in any debt. So you have a number of people that have no debt that kind of skew that number a lot. Now, some recent studies I've read say that up to 30% of graduates of med school come out with no debt at all. So that is, I think, a big reason why that number is way lower than what you would expect. Now, another factor to consider when looking at this giant number is my interest rates over here. Because a lot of these loans are grad plus loans, that means that they're unsubsidized and they accrue interest while I am in school. For example, this loan down here at $32,000 at our interest rate of 9% means it will accrue $3,000 in 1 year. This 49 one goes up by about, I think it was like $3,500 in a year at the 7% interest rate. When I look at this number, I am less scared about the big number on the top, and I am more afraid of the interest rates, because my first year paying off, if my loan stayed this, which it won't, it will go up much higher by the time I graduate and by the time I'm really ready to make payments post residency. But let's say my number was this when I was done and ready to make a real big payment. My interest per year will be around $27,000 just to make sure my loan doesn't grow any further. The last time I posted about my student loans on here, someone commented that I was fear-mongering. So let me just say, I'm not posting these loans to scare anyone from going. I'm not worried that I won't be able to pay them off. I think it's more so interesting that we are accruing interest on these loans that we have no way of paying back, and we start residency where we work and we make basically minimum wage while our loans continue accruing interest and are required to be paid back, but we will never make a dent in them until we're done. I think that this system is deeply flawed because of those two things. I also think that loan burdens like this and interest rates like this are what is scaring people from going into primary care. We have had such a drop in pediatricians, primary care providers. I think even emergency med doctors had a huge drop post-COVID as well. But being a primary care doctor in the US does not pay what it used to when you compare it to the loan burden that these physicians are graduating with. We've seen in studies that the income increase compared to the debt increase are not at all comparable. People are just graduating with so much more debt with just such a minimal increase in their income or their wages per year. Also didn't even touch on the fact that this debt burden doesn't encounter, like, if you have a hiccup in life or like an emergency, and how in med school often you need to have something to fall back on because these loans cannot support issues that arise, and why going to med school is such a high risk is like just situation in general, or a high risk endeavor for people that do not have a strong financial backing or like family support system. That's why I think you see so many people in medical school who are from higher quintile income backgrounds, which I've made a few videos on before. So that was long, but just to show that like this is what my debt situation is like, and that it is not at all uncommon for people in med school to have the same debt burden. I don't think it's talked about on here enough, and I also think I see a lot of people who are in residency or new doctors who are spending like a lot of money and really like, I don't know, living in a different lifestyle than like I will probably be able to live for a very, very, very long time. Absolute no shade to the people that do come from those backgrounds and have that, you know, opportunity available to them to spend more money and, you know, maybe travel a little more and buy nicer things. They're still going through school, they're still putting in the work, and they're still going to be great doctors. I think that the whole point of making TikToks on here is to show a different lens, and I guess just show a little more like realistic of what this journey can look like and what the debt and the money and the finances going into it can look like.
So yeah, I made a video about me owing student loans, right? I owe about $150,000 in student loans. I got 2 degrees. I got a bachelor's in biology and I got a master's in secondary education with an endorsement in clinical mental health counseling, right? I said, so y'all mean to tell me y'all gonna garnish my check? I'm trolling, right? I made that video last night. I never knew it was so many negative people that would comment on that video. I feel like my video reached the wrong side of TikTok. Like, just laugh. I'm not mad about it. I haven't paid these years in over 4 years. After I graduated in 2020. You think I'm worried about it now? If they get it, they get it, don't. I ain't working in my degree because I put my kids first. I got a job that's going to accommodate my kids' schedule. But I was trolling. I thought it was funny. Like, I'm not mad about it. If you paid your student loan, kudos to you. You want a cookie? And to be honest, I feel like most of y'all that paid y'all student loans use y'all social media money. Y'all not taking no money out y'all work shit to pay these doggone loans back. The interest on these loans ain't nothing but probably 7% or less. I'll pay my credit card out before I pay a doggone student loan. It'll get paid when it get paid. They in the firm, I think I'm good. But y'all too serious in the comments. Like, I don't even turn my comments off. I don't want to turn these off because y'all really doing too much. And they talking about you people. Who is you people? You been the R word now. I don't like them type of people. If you are, please get out of my page. Block me. Scroll back. You ain't got to comment. Then they talking about you ain't take an English class. Baby, I'm in the South. This how I talk. I know how to talk. I don't try to come on here talking proper. But I just came to speak my piece. I'm eating my hot wings. They good as hell.